Hey everyone, welcome back, and this is our final part of portrait number 3 and the last of our class for the painting demonstrations. Again, I'm just laying in all the colors that I sourced and swatched from Canva, and I am fixing this character because it looks a little weird right now. Um, I I think it was video 3 of this one where I was kind of talking about how sometimes your transfer can leave like ghost marks if you're accidentally like leaning on the paper, and that happened a lot with this specific character. And I was noticing it more the later I went on. His eyes look a little bit wonky too, not so much anymore, but so anyhow, I had to kind of fix his flesh tone. And so I just used, it looked like, yep, I used the cadmium red to work on a flesh tone color. And it also works too because it's on the red side, so it will blend in nicely with the lighting. And I am using a round brush here and a detail brush. And I don't know if you could tell, but I had another fluffy brush in my hand that I was kind of blending out. That one is similar to a mop brush. So a mop brush is fluffy and it kind of comes out, and it really is good for softening your paint. A blending brush really is what it says it is, and that is it will help you blend colors together really well. So it's similar to a mop brush with its like softness. It's very fluffy, but it does kind of come more to a point. It's not like a point, it just comes more to a point. And anyhow, so if you have two colors that you wanted to create a nice gradient with, you could just lay them in very quickly. And then right after you lay them in, you could kind of use your blending brush to blend them together. And I use that blending brush kind of often in smaller portraits, like the portrait that I'm doing at the moment. Because even though I'm not really doing a lot of blending, the mop brush is just too big and wide that it wouldn't give me enough control, and if I blended, a lot of that would come off of the face. So by using the blending brush instead of the mop brush, because it comes more to a point, it allows me to kind of emulate the effect a mop brush would do on a smaller scale. All right, that's looking pretty good. I think it really just needed a pop of color, and it's not perfect, but it's at the point where I don't mind it, to be honest. And that's really like my ultimate goal, is if I can get it to a point where it's not looking like weird, where people will be like, what is up with that character? Did something happen? Is that part of the storyline? You don't want people to stop because they're curious about why you made a creative decision. You want people to stop because they're interested in the piece as a whole. So the only thing about this girl in particular, I don't know if I'm going to do it, but her hair line at the moment, I hope I do it, but I'm not sure if I'm going to. It's a little bit too high contrast. Like, hair doesn't look like that so much. Like it would be beneficial if I kind of applied a little bit of a shadow transparent layer just right underneath it. It's almost like light there, a little bit too light there. But if I put just a very, very, very transparent layer of black there, it would kind of blend a little bit more to give the illusion that there is a shadow being cast from her hair. I'm not sure I do it though. Okay, so I am adding white a lot because this is supposed to look like a flare, right? Like a light explosion. It's late at night. I can't remember. I'm like struggling to remember words. But anyhow, this is the time when I really do want to add white to my paint pigments. And that is when I want some of those values to pop back out again. And it's kind of a nice time to do it also, because anytime you have a glow or maybe a reflection, like in Portrait 2, the reflection in the glasses, if you add a lot of glazing gloss to your white, you can give the impression that there is a glow, a reflection, or in water, well, a reflection in water as well. But or like if you're looking through a glass and you see a glow on the surface of a glass. Those are great times at the very end after you've laid in your entire piece. Then you can go on top of that with a very thinned out layer of white to give the illusion, the impression that there are those things. And the character in the middle, I didn't really paint his face too much. I kind of let the transfer shine through a little bit because I really liked the style of it and focused more on his eyes and the hair coming over. By doing that, again, with the eyes, like putting the attention on the eyes, it draws people to the piece more. And even though he's looking away, we do have a character that is breaking the fourth wall, and her, our astronaut, is going to be the first person that you will be looking at. Not only is she center of the piece, but she is the highest on the page, and oftentimes, depending on where you focus, there's a lot of ifs, ands, and buts. But when you have something a little bit like centered and higher, people tend to look at that area more because it does emulate how we read as well. But anyhow, she is also she's the main focus. She's glowing, she is breaking the fourth wall, and she's the most important one. And so anytime you look at a movie poster that is similar to this, see if any of those are doing that and what message they're trying to convey. Okay, we are coming up to the end of this. I cannot believe it. And I didn't have the peeling off of the paint because I really had to let this piece dry. I wish I did, but I don't. Anyhow, I just have to thank you so much for joining me in this class. And these are just so fun for me to make. And hopefully you've gotten a ton of value and you're able to use the information I provided you to help you with your own work. And anyhow, thank you. I will see you again in a new class in the future. Bye.